My viewers and subscribers, welcome to Jamaica Talk TV News, where we update you with the latest news. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, leave your comment, and don't forget to smash that notification bell so you can be updated. Thank you.
School fights continue unabated as JTA calls for urgent policy intervention. Another fire at Church Street dump in St. Thomas. And later in sports, Jamaica relegated to Group 3 with Davis Cup loss. Thank you for joining us. Fights at a high school in Western Jamaica last week alone have thrown the institution into the spotlight. With a teacher being involved in one of those fights, there are now renewed calls for the Education Ministry to fast-track aspects of the school curriculum to address antisocial behaviors.
It's supposed to be a place for teaching and learning, but not for these students who have turned the classroom into a literal boxing ring. In this video obtained by our newsroom, two male students are being boosted by their classmates to fight. When things got heated, one of the male students was pulled outside by his classmates. In another video, a group of girls were caught in another brawl. Again, schoolmates tried to pull them apart. In yet another recent video, a student and teacher got into an altercation. It's not clear what was the cause of any of the fights at the Belmont Academy in Bluefields, Westmoreland. Now, efforts to reach the principal of the institution, Raymond Simpson, were futile. Calls to his cell phone all went unanswered. While not seeing the videos, President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, Leighton Johnson, has condemned the acts. He's calling for the Education Ministry to prioritize the character development and value attitudes in the school curriculum. Mr. Johnson noted that has been on the books of the ministry, but its implementation has been dragging.
We call on the Ministry of Education to ensure that as quickly as possible, the character-based education program and project that we heard about some time ago needs to be implemented in our schools now. It needs to be fast-tracked. We need to be pulled to the table, because if we continue to allow these kinds of situations to continue, then our country will get to a point where we cannot repair the damages.
He says based on the state of violence in the nation's schools, the implementation needs to be now.
The horse is all the way through the gate. Every other day we find these videos circulating of these violent interactions with our students. It has to happen now. The wheels within the ministry turn really slow, and we want them to get to the point where they understand that the longer they wait to implement these policy positions, more students are being exposed to the kind of negative behaviors. So we need them to move with pace.
The JTA president is also calling for additional support in the schools through guidance counselors, school resource officers, and social workers. Mr. Johnson notes that currently it is 500 students to one guidance counselor.
I'm suggesting that we perhaps need to get the quota down to 300 to 1. This perhaps would alleviate the issues, as well as an increase in the allotment of social workers assigned to the region.
The Early Childhood Commission, ECC, says it has identified 69 known early childhood institutions that are operating without a certificate of registration. It's part of the reason the Commission says it will be ramping up its crackdown on unregulated institutions. However, Director of Regulations and Monitoring at the ECC, Dr. Tracy and Morgan Smith, says the organization's officers are currently working with those 69 institutions to bring them into compliance. But Dr. Morgan Smith says there is greater concern about institutions that are operating under the radar.
Also a set that we may not know, and that's the danger. So although we know of these 69 institutions, we can go in when we find them to see if there's anything that is happening that we should take actions. But then there, for example, people are operating daycares in their homes and parents are supporting them and we don't know. This is where the risk is greatest.
Does this mean an automatic closure of the facility? Dr. Morgan Smith says no.
If there are reasons for us to do that, then we will recommend closure.
Right.
But then that is it. So those are, we call them delinquent institutions.
But that's not your first course of action, where you give them the opportunity first.
Right, so we go in
Okay.
and we give them an opportunity to regularize themselves.
Within what time frame?
It all depends on what.
Firefighters were summoned to the Church Corner disposal site in Morant Bay, St. Thomas this morning to battle another blaze. 2 units from the Morant Bay and Yallis fire stations responded. Assistant Superintendent at the Morant Bay Fire Station, Robert Locke, says the fire started sometime after 4.
Upon arrival, they observed that it was a front part of the dump, which basically, not normally, that front part we never encounter it.
The team made an observation.
From the district of observation, they have said that it's obvious that someone light that section. However, we requested the Gallas Fire Station in order to assist us to have it under control.
There was another fire at the disposal site 2 weeks ago. A section of Holland Bamboo in St. Elizabeth was destroyed by a fire yesterday afternoon. According to reports, about 5:45, fire was seen coming from a section of Bamboo Avenue. Residents then alerted the police and the fire department.
The brigade responded in the number 5-26 unit, and upon arrival, we could see fire emitting from the bamboo. Now, upon a closer inspection, we realized that about 8 roots of bamboo that was destroyed. And we are asking people to desist from lighting the bamboo at this time, because we
are in a drought.
We are in a drought, and the place is windy. Now, this call that we are at, it was earlier attended by Santa Cruz Fire Station. Now they are actually at another fire, so that is why we, Black River, came here.
Now, 8 large roots, as you heard, of bamboo were destroyed, along with some seedlings recently planted by the Agriculture Ministry.
And we have to take more precaution and have somebody we go through bamboo more one time and see we are going environment or nobody no business with you, just step on your own. You want people up here patrol the bamboo at all time but kill this place.
The St. Anne police say the parish saw a downward trend in major crimes in 2023. However, the categories of murders and shootings continue to pose a challenge. Linton Bailey is Deputy Superintendent of Police in charge of crime for the parish.
But 2022, we had a total of 67 murders in comparison to 78 in 2023. For shooting, for 2022, we had a total of 48, and for 2023, we had 55.
Also of great concern is a category of rape.
For rape, we had 31 this year in comparison to 2022. What we have observed in the sexual offenses is that last year we saw a lot of rape within the family. So it's not like previous years when we would have seen persons unknown to the perpetrator. But in some of these instances, it is persons who are family members of the victim.
DSP Bailey says despite the increase in murders, the police also had a high arrest rate.
43% of our murders, we had cleared them by arrest. And out of that number, we had some significant cases that we might have heard of on the radio.
The Southern Regional Health Authority, SRHA, says it is now more prepared to meet the demands of the region with the procurement of 9 retrofitted vehicles for its fleet. The region secured 3 ambulances, 4 utility pickups, a staff bus and a truck. Details in this report.
$99 million.
That's how much the Southern Regional Health Authority SRHA says it spent to procure the additional vehicles. The 3 new ambulances will be assigned to the Maypen, Mandeville Regional and Black River hospitals. The purchase brings the number of ambulances in the region to 21 and the overall fleet, including vector control vehicles, to 99. Regional Director of SRHA Michael Bent says the aim is to have at least 2 ambulances at each hospital in the region. Smaller health centers also stand to benefit from the procurement.
What we'll be doing is to pull 3 of the ambulances, at the existing ambulances, one from Maypen, one from Mandeville and one from Black River Hospital, and we'll put in those older ones into a primary care facility, so one at each health centre in each parish. So one would be in Clarendon at a primary care facility, one will be in Manchester at a primary care facility, and one will be in St. Louis at a primary care facility, so that when we have persons who come to the health centres and need, after being assessed, if they need to be transported immediately to a hospital, then we can respond.
The emergency vehicles have also been equipped with new features.
The new feature now is that we equip this one with a refrigerator. Purpose is we normally pick up blood samples from Kingston to the region on a daily basis. Instead of using an igloo for transportation, we now have a refrigerator installed in the vehicle.
With over 2,000 ambulance trips done annually, the authority says it will be gradually upgrading all the vehicles in its fleet to better serve the public.
Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, JMEA, has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Honeybun Foundation for the second iteration of a 1-year small to medium enterprises SME development program. This is aimed at stimulating growth in Jamaica's SME sector. While speaking at the MOU signing, President of the JMEA, Sidney Thwaites, said that the SME Accelerator Program will be guided by the advisory committee model developed by the Honeybun Foundation, which the JMEA will adopt. He said this initiative ensures that JMEA member companies, with 70% categorized as small companies, have access to the expertise needed for expansion and job creation in Jamaica. The 1-year program will focus on a number of initiatives to facilitate the development and growth of SMEs, including pairing qualifying SMEs with teams of expert advisors from various fields. The SMEs will follow the guidance of the experts for a period of 12 months, utilizing a strategic roadmap developed by the foundation. Further afield, research has claimed that millions of barrels of fuel made from Russian oil are still being imported by the UK despite sanctions imposed over the war in Ukraine. A so-called loophole means Russian crude is refined in countries such as India and the product sold to the UK. This does not breach the UK's Russian oil ban, but critics say it undermines sanctions aimed at restricting Russia's war funds. And that's it for the Business Minute.
Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, at least 112 people have been killed by forest fires in Chile's Valparaiso region. President Gabriel Boric declared a state of emergency and said he would make all necessary resources available to tackle the situation. It is believed to be Chile's deadliest forest fire on record. A health alert was put in place in Valparaiso by the Health Ministry. On the international scene, hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses in California are still without electricity following severe flooding on Sunday in what officials are describing as one of the most dramatic weather days in recent memory. Severe winds of nearly 100 miles per hour lashed parts of the U.S. state, toppling trees and power lines. Several schools were ordered to close on Monday, and millions of people remain under flood watches as the state braces for another day of heavy rains. And the White House has warned that its airstrikes on Iran-linked targets in Iraq and Syria are just the beginning and not the end of its response to Iran. The U.S. response follows the deaths of 3 soldiers in an enemy drone attack on a military base in Jordan last week. Though Iran denies involvement, its affiliate, the Islamic Resistance in Iraq, has claimed responsibility. In a letter to Congress Sunday, President Joe Biden said the retaliatory strikes on Friday had targeted facilities used by Iran's armed forces and militia groups linked to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC. And those were the top regional and international stories.